Today, the U.S. Supreme Court will consider whether to take up the case of a Texas death row inmate whose conviction on charges of killing his young child was based on a now widely disputed medical theory. Robert Roberson's Supreme Court appeal could be his last shot before the state sets an execution date at a time of renewed debate over the death penalty. Death penalty researchers call 2022 the year of the botched execution, leading Alabama to consider a new method using nitrogen gas, essentially asphyxiation, that has never been used for sanctioned killing in the United States before. Other states are turning to death by firing squad. And now tonight, the Met, the nation's preeminent opera company, brings this issue to the stage with a production of Dead Man Walking, based on the Oscar-winning movie and best-selling book about the life of Sister Helen Prejean and her friendship with a death row inmate in Louisiana who was ultimately executed. Sister Prejean joins me now, along with civil rights attorney and MSNBC legal analyst Charles Coleman. Good to have both of you here. You were a teacher.
Yep.
When you became one of the leading voices for this issue in the country, if not the world, you said it happened after you learned about the other America. What was the other America that you found, Sister?
Yeah, well, when I read the Gospel of Jesus more closely and he talked about justice for the poor, I moved out of the suburbs and moved into the inner city in New Orleans, and African-American people became my teachers. I knew nothing but white privilege. I was never scared when the policeman stopped me when I was speeding. But black people, everything was different. All the rules were different. And it opened my heart. It woke me up. That's how I awakened to justice. And then one day, I got an invitation. Hey, sister, you want to write to a man on death row? I went, yeah, I could write some letters. And that's how the whole thing started.
Well, it went pretty far because you developed a close friendship, and ultimately, he was put to death. This is not an unusual story. 1,576 men and women have been gassed, shot, electrocuted, and lethally injected since the 1970s. We've seen the failures of lethal injection. We see this debate in Arkansas now about killing inmates with only nitrogen. What goes through your mind, and what did you learn about people who are on death row?
First of all, I learned they're human beings, and this is the recent evolution in the teaching of the Catholic Church. No matter how terrible a crime a human being does, he is still a human being that has a dignity. And most of the people I met had terrible childhoods. They had experienced violence as children, and later they worked that violence on somebody else, and then the state is going to execute them. I also learned that this system of death, only poor people are chosen. Overwhelmingly, it's when you kill white people that the death penalty is. Everything about it I started learning, and it makes a huge amount of difference what lawyer you have by your side when you go to trial for your life. And none of it works. We have, for every 8 people we've executed in this country, that total you just gave, 1 has had to be freed because we made another mistake. There have been 193. Wrong decision, because the truth doesn't come out at trial. If you don't get all the facts out to that jury, the fact finders, then they make a decision according to what they have, and you make mistakes all the time. We can't handle this thing.
And the vast majority are black.
Yes.
Almost always for killing someone who is white, not when a black person dies.
But the key thing to keep your eye on, and where the racism really figures, is who cares about the victim that was killed? And 80% or 75% of all people on death row, it's because they killed a white person that has status in society.
It is, so, Sister, a natural human reaction, right?
Right.
People hurt us, hurt people we love. We want to hurt them. So what do you say to the families?
Yeah. Well, I don't say much to the families other than, is there any way I can help you? Because I haven't experienced their pain. And they need a lot of help. You know, their marriages break up, they lose their jobs, they need a lot of assistance, a lot of support. What the state offers them is, and the average wait is 17 years. You wait, and we're going to sit you on the front row. We're going to kill the one who killed your loved one. You get to watch it, and that's going to heal you and give you justice. Look how morally bankrupt that is.
The support for the death penalty in this country in 1994, right before Dead Man Walking, was 80%. Since you started to shine a light on this, look where it is now, 55%, so significantly lower. Is it your hope that this Metropolitan Opera production that we're going to see tonight and that will, continue, I think we have some video of it, there you see it, will bring this back in the way that we've also been seeing headlines that people will start talking about this
Yeah,
again?
like the movie of Dead Man Walking did that, and it got 4 nominations. Yeah, in the Academy. Yeah, you know what I'm happy about? Opera is the fullness of art, because people are going to see live drama, and it opens with everybody's going to see the murder. And then you're going to know who did it. So you're not using any moral energy, did he do it or not? You know he did it, and you don't like him, and he's not remorseful, and you want to see him die. That's the audience's journey, and that's the aria of my character, my journey. All while Tim Robbins was writing, the movie kept saying, the nun is in over her head. I'd come from being a teacher and teaching religion to going on to death row. But what the opera does in its fullness, it's going to be simulcast in Times Square. It's going to go to 20 countries in movie theaters in October. And so it's going to get the story out. Because you know what, Chris? The death penalty is pretty much a secret ritual. Only a few choice witnesses go behind those prison walls. And there's a saying from Latin America, what the eye doesn't see, the heart can't feel. And that's my job. I've been witness and accompanied 6 people to execution. I've been with victims' families and seen their struggle toward healing. And we're going to pull the curtain back through art in every way. And the opera does it in a very full way.
Charles, you've been deeply involved in these issues of racial disparity and civil rights for a very long time. Do you see a way forward in this? And when you see the death penalty, when you hear about the death penalty, what do you see?
Well, Chris, I think the biggest thing that serves as an impediment to understanding is information. People don't necessarily understand how the system works, and there are a number of different holes and gaps that we were just talking about that people are generally unaware of. For example, there is no requirement for a prosecutor to have DNA evidence to convict someone of a capital punishment crime. When you couple that with the notion that cross-racial identification has been proven to be consistently unreliable, you now create a situation where a jury may make a decision about someone's life based off of a first-hand account by someone who did not necessarily have the strongest identification skills. That is a problem. The standard for convicting someone is beyond a reasonable doubt, is not beyond any doubt. The significance of that is when you're making decisions with irreversible consequences, you can't afford to be wrong. Now, when you couple in the additional societal issues around race, socioeconomic class, the access that people have to actually having qualified representation, all of these things play a role into why the death penalty is so controversial, in addition to the fact that, in many respects, it has become a political issue, Chris, where people are using that as a response to crime as opposed to investing in data-driven, proven solutions to address crime where and how it occurs.
Charles Coleman, Sister Helen who will be on the red carpet tonight, but with a very serious message. We thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you and to have you come in. Appreciate it.